The quantum ripples appeared first, subtle distortions in space-time that sent the galactic concordat's detection arrays into a frenzy. In the observation center of Station Helios, Chief Sensor Officer Vrixtal's crystalline form flickered with alarm as the readings exceeded anything recorded in the station's 1,000-year history. Something massive was arriving. Multiple breaches forming. Vrixtal's harmonic voice resonated through the chamber. Energy signature. Impossible. It's larger than a stellar core. Through the station's vast observation windows, space itself seemed to fold. A vessel emerged from the dimensional tear, if it could even be called a vessel. At 15 kilometers in length, the ship dwarfed the largest Concordat dreadnoughts. Its hull gleamed with an otherworldly metal that seemed to drink in starlight, interrupted only by pulsing lines of blue energy that traced arcane patterns across its surface. First Admiral Zentera of the Concordat Defense Fleet felt her secondary hearts skip a beat. In 3 centuries of service, she had never seen anything like this. The ship's design was completely alien to known space. No curves or organic shapes, like Concordat vessels. No crystalline geometries, like the Vorkath used. Instead, it bore stark, angular lines that spoke of ruthless efficiency. All stations to alert status, she commanded, her tendrils writhing with tension. Deploy the defense fleet, but do not take aggressive action. Begin emergency notifications to all Concordat worlds. The response came too late. Before the defense fleet could even begin to move into position, the massive vessel had already crossed half the distance to Helios Station, moving with impossible speed for something of its size. Zentera's crew watched in horror as it drew near, its shadow engulfing them. Then something unexpected happened. The vessel slowed gracefully to a stop, maintaining a respectful distance from the station. There was no weapons lock, no shield flare, just patient stillness. A transmission cut through all frequencies, bypassing encryption as if it didn't exist. Greetings, Galactic Concordat. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Prometheus. We come seeking alliance against a threat to all sentient life. Please respond. The message repeated in perfect translations of all known Concordat languages. Zentera's tendrils trembled. The ship's capabilities were terrifying enough. But this suggested levels of surveillance and cultural understanding that should have been impossible for an unknown species. Admiral, her communications officer whispered, the signal, it's coming from a biological entity. Not an AI, not a synthetic. They're organic. Zentera moved to respond, but before she could, urgent reports flooded in from the outer defense perimeter. More quantum ripples were forming, dozens of them. From each tear emerged nightmare creatures of impossible geometry, their very presence causing reality to shudder. The human voice cut through again. Urgent now. Concordat Station. You have approximately 3 minutes before those entities breach your defensive line. The Prometheus stands ready to assist. Please acknowledge. Zentera's military training took over. Questions of first contact protocol suddenly seemed far less important than survival. This is First Admiral Zentera. We acknowledge and accept your assistance. What followed would be spoken of in whispered awe for generations to come. The Prometheus moved with impossible grace, its weapons unlike anything the Concordat had ever witnessed. Beams of concentrated space-time cut through the cosmic horrors like they were mist. Quantum torpedoes created localized singularities that consumed the creatures whole. Within minutes, the threat was eliminated with surgical precision. As the last echo of battle faded, the human vessel resumed its patient position near the station. The same calm voice returned. Admiral Zentera, with your permission, I would like to send a diplomatic party to explain why we're here. What you just witnessed was only a scout force. The main body is coming, and neither of us can face it alone. Zentera looked at the tactical display, at the readings that showed just how completely this single human ship had outclassed the entire Concordat defense fleet. They could have conquered this station with ease. Instead, they had asked permission, had maintained distance, had helped without hesitation. Permission granted, Captain Chen. Welcome to Concordat space. The human diplomatic shuttle that approached was almost disappointing in its simplicity after the majesty of their capital ship. It docked with practiced ease, and the station's atmosphere processors worked overtime adapting to unfamiliar biological signatures. The airlock cycled, and Zentera got her first look at a human. Captain Sarah Chen was smaller than she had expected, barely reaching the Admiral's lower thorax. Her form was bipedal, covered in a sleek uniform that seemed to shift colors like active camouflage. But it was her eyes that caught Zentera's attention. They held wisdom, determination, and something else, something that spoke of having witnessed horrors beyond imagination and emerged stronger. "Admiral," Chen said, offering a slight bow. "Thank you for receiving us. I wish first contact could have happened under better circumstances, but time is not our ally. What you saw today was just the beginning. Humanity has been fighting these entities for decades in secret, pushing them back from Earth, learning their weaknesses. But they're gathering for a massive invasion, one that will threaten every sentient species in the galaxy." She produced a small device that projected a galactic map filled with red markers. "These are confirmed incursion points. The pattern is clear. They're surrounding all major civilization centers. We need to stand together, or we'll fall separately." Zentera studied the human captain carefully. "You could have conquered us easily. Why seek alliance?" Chen's expression softened slightly. "Because that's not who we are, Admiral. Humanity has learned the hard way that survival depends on cooperation, not domination. We've developed this technology, these ships, not for conquest, but for protection. We're stronger together. Your understanding of this region of space, combined with our experience fighting these entities, gives us a real chance at victory." The Admiral's tendrils moved in a pattern of deep thought. "The Concordat Council will need to be convinced. Many will fear your power." "I understand," Chen replied. "That's why we came openly, with full transparency. We'll share our technology, our knowledge. Trust must begin somewhere, Admiral. Today, we chose to trust you with our existence. Will you trust us in return?" The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Concordat hummed with tension. Representatives from 1,000 worlds filled the vast amphitheater, their forms ranging from crystalline structures to plasma containment fields to more conventional organic bodies. At the center, Captain Sarah Chen stood alone, dwarfed by the massive holographic displays surrounding her. "What you're about to see," Chen began, her voice steady despite the weight of countless alien eyes upon her, "is footage from humanity's first encounter with the entity we call the Void Collective." She gestured, and the chamber darkened. The holographic display shifted to show Earth's solar system from 30 years ago. The scene played out in perfect clarity, a massive tear in spacetime, larger than Earth's moon, from which poured creatures that defied conventional physics. They moved like oil through water, leaving reality distorted in their wake. "We lost Mars that day," Chen continued, her voice tight with controlled emotion. 2 billion colonists, gone in hours. But we learned, we adapted, we survived. The footage shifted to show humanity's counterattack, primitive by their current standards. But even then, the ingenuity was clear. Nuclear weapons modified with exotic particle accelerators, gravitational lenses used to focus stellar radiation, desperate, brilliant innovations born of necessity. High Chancellor Ixel of the Concordat shifted his crystalline form in discomfort. "This is disturbing, Captain Chen. But why show us now? Why not approach us when you first encountered these entities?" "Because we weren't ready," Chen replied. "We needed to be certain we could offer real help, not just warnings. The Void Collective operates on a scale beyond conventional warfare. They don't want resources or territory. They want to reshape reality itself. Each incursion is an attempt to alter the fundamental constants of our universe to match their own." She brought up new data. Spatial distortions detected across multiple galaxies, forming a clear pattern. They're not just invading. They're converting space itself. Every victory gives them more territory to launch future attacks. The laws of physics literally change in their wake. The chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. Delegate Vexnor of the Silicon Collective raised their primary sensor array. Your technology. It's far beyond anything we've seen. How did you advance so quickly? Chen's expression remained neutral, but her eyes betrayed a deep sadness. Necessity. When Mars fell, Earth united like never before. Every resource, every mind, focused on survival. We reversed engineered what we could from the Void Collective's technology. We pushed the boundaries of physics because we had no choice. She gestured, and the Prometheus appeared in the display, its internal systems laid bare. Our ships use controlled quantum fields to modify local spacetime. Our weapons create temporary pockets of altered physics to counter their abilities. Everything we've built, we offer to share, not because we're generous, but because we need allies who can fight alongside us as equals. The display shifted again, showing the growing pattern of incursions. They're coming in force now. What you saw at Helios Station was just a probe, testing your defenses. The main assault will hit multiple points simultaneously. No single species, no single fleet, can cover that much territory. High Chancellor Ixel's crystalline form pulsed with concern. You speak of sharing technology, but such advancement could take decades to implement. We've thought of that, Chen replied. She nodded to someone unseen, and suddenly, new quantum ripples appeared in space around the Concordat's capital world. 5 more ships emerged, each as massive as the Prometheus. The Earth Defense Fleet stands ready to protect Concordat space while we help you upgrade your own vessels. We're not asking you to trust us blindly. We're offering immediate protection alongside long-term cooperation. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had not arrived with a single powerful ship, but an entire fleet, each vessel capable of outmatching the Concordat's entire defense force. Yet they came offering alliance, not conquest. Delegate Zix of the Energy Beings Consortium floated forward, their form a swirling mass of contained plasma. You could have conquered us already. Why risk sharing your advantages? Chen's response was immediate and firm, because that's not victory. The Void Collective isn't just a military threat. They're an existential one. Every species, every civilization, brings unique perspectives and solutions. We don't want subjects. We want partners who can help us find new ways to fight back. She brought up one final display. The projected path of the Void Collective's advance. We estimate 3 months before the main invasion begins. Every day we spend debating is a day we could be preparing. Humanity stands ready to help, but we need your answer. Will you join us? The chamber erupted in discussion, but Chen stood calmly, waiting. She knew the risk they were taking, revealing so much of their capabilities. But she also knew what she had seen on Mars, what awaited if they failed to unite. The Void Collective saw diversity as a weakness, something to be eliminated as they homogenized reality itself. High Chancellor Ixel moved to the center of the chamber, his crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns. You ask much of us, Captain Chen. Trust is not easily given among the stars. No, Chen agreed, it isn't. That's why we're not asking for trust based on words alone. Actions matter more. The Earth Defense Fleet will protect Concordat space regardless of your decision. We'll share what we know about defending against the Void Collective, even if you choose not to ally with us formally. Because in the end, this isn't about politics or power. It's about survival. The silence that followed was heavy with possibility. Humanity had laid their cards on the table. Their strength, their knowledge, their fears. Now they could only wait to see if the galaxy would stand with them against the darkness that was coming. The first test of the Human Concordat Alliance came sooner than anyone expected. Just 6 weeks after the historic meeting, long-range sensors detected a massive Void Collective fleet emerging from dimensional tiers near the Arcturus cluster. This wasn't another probe. It was a full invasion force. Aboard the UES Prometheus, Captain Chen watched the tactical display with Commander Raj Kumar, her second in command. The void entities moved in their characteristic chaotic patterns, reality distorting around them like heat waves over desert sand. "They're testing the new defense grid," Kumar observed, his dark eyes tracking the enemy movements. The Prometheus had spent the last month helping install quantum field generators throughout Concordat space, creating a network that could detect and counter the Void Collective's reality warping abilities. Chen nodded. "Time to show them what our alliance can do." Open channel to Admiral Zentera. The Admiral's image appeared, her tendrils moving in patterns of battle readiness. "The Concordat fleet is in position, Captain. Though I must admit, many of my crew are still adapting to your unusual tactics. Understanding will come through experience," Chen replied. "Remember, conventional warfare doesn't work against them. We need to be unpredictable." She turned to Kumar. "Deploy the quantum mines. Let's reshape the battlefield before they can." The first test of the human Concordat alliance came sooner than anyone expected. Just 6 weeks after the historic meeting, long-range sensors detected a massive Void Collective fleet emerging from dimensional tiers near the Arcturus cluster. This wasn't another probe. It was a full invasion force. Aboard the UES Prometheus, Captain Chen watched the tactical display with Commander Raj Kumar, her second in command. The void entities moved in their characteristic chaotic patterns, reality distorting around them like heat waves over desert sand. "They're testing the new defense grid," Kumar observed, his dark eyes tracking the enemy movements. The Prometheus had spent the last month helping install quantum field generators throughout Concordat space, creating a network that could detect and counter the Void Collective's reality warping abilities. Chen nodded. "Time to show them what our alliance can do." Open channel to Admiral Zentera. The Admiral's image appeared, her tendrils moving in patterns of battle readiness. "The Concordat fleet is in position, Captain. Though I must admit, many of my crew are still adapting to your unusual tactics. Understanding will come through experience," Chen replied. "Remember, conventional warfare doesn't work against them. We need to be unpredictable." She turned to Kumar. "Deploy the quantum mines. Let's reshape the battlefield before they can." The space around the Allied fleet shimmed as thousands of devices activated, each one creating a small pocket of altered physics. To normal sensors, they were nearly invisible, but to the Void Collective, they were like bright beacons, irresistible targets. The enemy fleet moved exactly as Chen had predicted, shifting to consume the quantum anomalies. That's when the trap was sprung. Each mine contained a sliver of the Void Collective's own technology, salvaged from previous battles. When activated, they created a cascade of conflicting reality states. The front line of the Void fleet writhed in apparent agony as their natural ability to warp space-time worked against them. Chen didn't waste the opportunity. "All ships, execute pattern Sigma. Concordat vessels, focus on the disrupted zones." The human fleet moved with impossible precision, their quantum drives allowing them to briefly exist in multiple positions simultaneously. The void entities, used to being the masters of space-time manipulation, found themselves outmaneuvered by beings they had considered primitive. Admiral Zentera watched in amazement as her fleet's weapons, recently modified with human technology, actually began to affect the enemy. Where before their shots had passed harmlessly through the void entities, now they created expanding spheres of normalized space-time, forcing the creatures to maintain a single form or risk dissipation. "Remarkable," she whispered. Then, louder, "All Concordat ships maintain fire on designated targets. Do not let them adapt." But the Void Collective hadn't survived ends by being predictable. Suddenly, the enemy fleet merged into a single massive entity, a writhing mass of impossible geometries that made sensors scream in protest. Reality itself began to crack around it. "They're attempting a space-time rupture," Kumar shouted. "If they succeed, they'll create a permanent dead zone where our physics don't work." Chen's mind raced. They had seen this tactic before, during the Battle of Mars. But this entity was far larger, far more powerful. Standard containment wouldn't work. Unless... Admiral Zentera, she called out, "Your crystal ships, they can maintain structural integrity under extreme gravitational stress." "Correct." "Yes, but I need your fleet to form a sphere around that thing. Now." To her credit, Zentera didn't hesitate. The Concordat ships moved into position, their crystalline hulls beginning to glow as they channeled energy through their lattices. "Kumar, prepare the quantum inverter," Chen ordered. "We're going to use their own rupture against them." The Prometheus's main weapon powered up, its energy signature rising to levels that made the fabric of space tremble. The principle was simple but incredibly dangerous. They would match the void entity's reality distortion exactly, then reverse it in a single pulse. "Concordat fleet in position," Zentera reported. "Though I hope you know what you're doing, Captain." Chen's hands tightened on her command chair. "Pattern recognition suggests an 82% chance this works, and a 100% chance we lose this sector if we don't try." She took a deep breath. "Inverter at full charge. Admiral, on my mark, have your ships channel all power to their structural fields." The void entity had grown to massive proportions, its form now resembling a twisted fractal storm of unreality. Space itself was beginning to unravel around it. "Now," Chen commanded. The Prometheus fired. A beam of pure quantum potential struck the entity at the exact moment it attempted to complete its reality rupture. The Concordat ship's crystalline hulls acted as focusing lenses, containing and redirecting the energy. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself seemed to hiccup. The void entity's own power was turned back on itself, its attempt to create a zone of alien physics backfiring spectacularly. The creature imploded, dragging several smaller entities with it into a dimension of its own making. The remaining void ships, their coordination broken, began to retreat in disarray. Space-time tiers opened and closed rapidly as they fled back to whatever dark realm they called home. In the aftermath, Chen slumped in her chair, exhaustion finally showing on her face. "Damage report." Kumar managed a tired smile. "Minimal. The Concordat ships protected us from most of the backlash, though I think we'll be recalibrating sensors for weeks." "Captain," Admiral Zentera's voice came through, filled with a new respect. "That was unprecedented. You turned their greatest weapon against them." "We all did," Chen corrected. "Human technology, Concordat capabilities, working in perfect sync. This is why we needed allies." She straightened in her chair. "But this was just one battle. They'll be back, and they'll have learned from this defeat. We need to be ready." As damage control teams from both fleets began their work, Chen couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. The Void Collective was powerful, yes, but they had just proven that they weren't invincible. Unity, creativity, the willingness to take calculated risks. These were weapons that the enemy, for all their reality warping power, seemed to lack. The real war was still coming. But now, at least, they knew they could hurt them. They could win. In the aftermath of the Arcturus battle, the great halls of the Concordat's Unity station buzzed with activity. News of the victory had spread rapidly across known space, bringing both hope and fear. Representatives from previously neutral species now crowded the diplomatic chambers, all seeking alliance with humanity and the Concordat. Captain Chen stood before a holographic display of the galaxy, watching as red markers indicated new Void Collective activity. Behind her, the diplomatic council argued in a dozen different languages, their universal translators struggling to keep up with the emotional intensity. "The humans have proven themselves," Ambassador Lyrics of the crystalline domains declared, his faceted form refracting light in patterns of approval. "Their technology, their tactics, they offer us a real chance of survival." But others weren't so easily convinced. High Commander Vorks of the Silicon Collective rose from his seat, his metallic form humming with skepticism. "One victory does not erase the danger. The humans possess technology that could destroy any of our civilizations. How can we be certain they won't turn on us once the Void Collective is defeated? Chen continued studying the display, letting the debate wash over her. She'd expected this reaction. Fear masked as prudence, distrust disguised as caution. The same patterns that had nearly torn Earth apart before unity was achieved. A subtle vibration in her neural implant alerted her to an incoming priority message. Kumar's voice filled her mind. "Captain, we're detecting unusual quantum signatures, different from the Void Collective. Multiple sources, closing fast." Chen straightened, her attention snapping to the tactical overlay. Unknown ships were emerging from quantum space throughout Concordat territory. But these weren't the reality-warping tiers of the Void Collective. These were precise, controlled jumps. "Attention, Council," she announced, her voice cutting through the debate. "We have multiple contacts approaching. Advanced quantum drive signatures, but not Void Collective." The chamber erupted in chaos as the tactical display updated. Over 50 vessels had appeared, their design unlike anything seen before. They moved with incredible precision, forming a complex three-dimensional pattern around key Concordat worlds. Then a transmission cut through all frequencies, broadcasting in a language that made the universal translators stutter. "We are the Quantum Ascendancy. We have watched your battle against the Void. Your resistance is impressive, but futile. Surrender your quantum technology, and we may spare your worlds." High Commander Vorx's form vibrated with alarm. "Another advanced species. How many more threats lurk in the dark between stars?" But Chen was already moving, her mind racing through tactical possibilities. "Kumar, get the Prometheus ready. Have the fleet." The Prometheus fired. A beam of pure quantum potential struck the entity at the exact moment it attempted to complete its reality rupture. The Concordat ship's crystalline hulls acted as focusing lenses, containing and redirecting the energy. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself seemed to hiccup. The Void entity's own power was turned back on itself, its attempt to create a zone of alien physics backfiring spectacularly. The creature imploded, dragging several smaller entities with it into a dimension of its own making. The remaining Void ships, their coordination broken, began to retreat in disarray. Space-time tiers opened and closed rapidly as they fled back to whatever dark realm they called home. In the aftermath, Chen slumped in her chair, exhaustion finally showing on her face. "Damage report." Kumar managed a tired smile. "Minimal. The Concordat ships protected us from most of the backlash, though I think we'll be recalibrating sensors for weeks." "Captain," Admiral Zentera's voice came through, filled with a new respect. "That was unprecedented. You turned their greatest weapon against them." "We all did," Chen corrected. "Human technology, Concordat capabilities, working in perfect sync. This is why we needed allies." She straightened in her chair. "But this was just one battle. They'll be back, and they'll have learned from this defeat. We need to be ready." As damage control teams from both fleets began their work, Chen couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. The Void Collective was powerful, yes, but they had just proven that they weren't invincible. Unity, creativity, the willingness to take calculated risks. These were weapons that the enemy, for all their reality-warping power, seemed to lack. The real war was still coming, but now, at least, they knew they could hurt them. They could win. In the aftermath of the Arcturus battle, the great halls of the Concordat's Unity station buzzed with activity. News of the victory had spread rapidly across known space, bringing both hope and fear. Representatives from previously neutral species now crowded the diplomatic chambers, all seeking alliance with humanity and the Concordat. Captain Chen stood before a holographic display of the galaxy, watching as red markers indicated new Void Collective activity. Behind her, the diplomatic council argued in a dozen different languages, their universal translators struggling to keep up with the emotional intensity. The humans have proven themselves, Ambassador Lyrics of the crystalline domains declared, his faceted form refracting light in patterns of approval. Their technology, their tactics, they offer us a real chance of survival. But others weren't so easily convinced. High Commander Vorks of the Silicon Collective rose from his seat, his metallic form humming with skepticism. One victory does not erase the danger. The humans possess technology that could destroy any of our civilizations. How can we be certain they won't turn on us once the Void Collective is defeated? Chen continued studying the display, letting the debate wash over her. She'd expected this reaction. Fear masked as prudence, distrust disguised as caution. The same patterns that had nearly torn Earth apart before unity was achieved. A subtle vibration in her neural implant alerted her to an incoming priority message. Kumar's voice filled her mind. Captain, we're detecting unusual quantum signatures, different from the Void Collective. Multiple sources, closing fast. Chen straightened, her attention snapping to the tactical overlay. Unknown ships were emerging from quantum space throughout Concordat territory. But these weren't the reality-warping tiers of the Void Collective. These were precise, controlled jumps. Attention, Council, she announced, her voice cutting through the debate. We have multiple contacts approaching. Advanced quantum drive signatures, but not Void Collective. The chamber erupted in chaos as the tactical display updated. Over 50 vessels had appeared, their design unlike anything seen before. They moved with incredible precision, forming a complex three-dimensional pattern around key Concordat worlds. Then a transmission cut through all frequencies, broadcasting in a language that made the universal translators stutter. We are the Quantum Ascendancy. We have watched your battle against the Void. Your resistance is impressive, but futile. Surrender your quantum technology, and we may spare your worlds. High Commander Vorks's form vibrated with alarm. Another advanced species. How many more threats lurk in the dark between stars? But Chen was already moving, her mind racing through tactical possibilities. Kumar, get the Prometheus ready. Have the fleet. Captain, Kumar interrupted. These ships, their quantum signatures match fragments we found in the Mars ruins. They're not new arrivals. They've been watching us. Watching everyone. Understanding dawned. These weren't simple opportunists. This was a force that had been waiting, perhaps for centuries, monitoring the Void Collective's attacks and analyzing responses. They had revealed themselves now because humanity's quantum technology threatened their advantage. The Quantum Ascendancy ships began powering up weapons that made space itself shiver. But before they could fire, Admiral Zentera's voice rang out through the chamber. Perhaps you should check your tactical displays again. The holographic map shifted, revealing hundreds of previously hidden quantum field generators scattered throughout Concordat space. Chen allowed herself a small smile. The defense network they'd been building wasn't just for detecting void incursions. It was a subtle web of quantum manipulation zones, ready to be activated. You're right. Chen addressed the Ascendancy's transmission. We've been watched, but so have you. Every time you used your quantum drives to observe us, you left traces. We've been mapping your movements for weeks. With a gesture, she activated the network. Space rippled as quantum fields synchronized, creating a massive interconnected web. The Ascendancy's ships suddenly found their quantum drives fighting against carefully tuned interference patterns. This is your only warning, Chen continued. The Void Collective is the true enemy. Join us in fighting them, or leave Concordat space immediately. You have 5 minutes to decide. The chamber fell silent as her words hung in the air. The Ascendancy's ships hung motionless, caught in the quantum web, their previous confidence evaporating as they realized they weren't the only ones who had been playing a long game. High Commander Vorks turned his sensors toward Chen, his earlier skepticism replaced with something approaching respect. You knew they were watching. All this time, while we debated, you were preparing for them too. Humanity learned the hard way that you can't fight one enemy while ignoring others, Chen replied. The defense network was designed to handle multiple threats. We just didn't expect to need that capability so soon. 4 tense minutes passed. Then the Ascendancy's ships began powering down their weapons. A new transmission came through. Perhaps there is wisdom in cooperation. The Void Collective threatens us all. We would discuss terms of alliance. Relief rippled through the chamber, but Chen kept her expression neutral. We'll need to verify your intentions, of course. Trust is earned. She turned to the council. But this proves what humanity has been saying. We're stronger together. The Void Collective isn't the only threat out there. And we need every ally we can get. The diplomatic chamber, so recently filled with doubt and argument, now hummed with purpose. The addition of the quantum ascendancy's knowledge and capabilities could shift the balance significantly in the coming war. But more importantly, the Council had seen firsthand how humanity's preparations extended beyond the obvious threat. As the diplomats began the complex task of integrating a new ally into their coalition, Chen returned her attention to the galaxy map. The red markers showing Void Collective activity were spreading, forming a pattern that suggested their next major attack would come soon. But now, at least, they would face it with a truly united front. The galaxy was finally beginning to understand what humanity had learned on Mars. Survival meant more than just fighting the enemy in front of you. It meant building foundations strong enough to weather any storm. The real test was still to come. But for the first time, Chen felt they might actually be ready for it. Reality itself screamed as the Void Collective's main fleet tore through into normal space. The dimensional ruptures were enormous beyond imagining. Vast wounds in the fabric of space-time that stretched for millions of kilometers. From these cosmic gashes poured entities that defied comprehension, their forms shifting between states of matter that shouldn't exist. The combined fleet of humanity, the Concordat, and the Quantum Ascendancy held position at the edge of the Helios sector. Thousands of ships arranged in a complex three-dimensional battle formation that had taken weeks to perfect. At the center of the fleet, the UES Prometheus hung like a sword waiting to fall. Captain Chen stood on her bridge, watching the enemy approach. The tactical displays showed the true scale of what they faced. This wasn't just an invasion force. It was an attempt to rewrite the fundamental laws of their universe. All ships report ready, Kumar announced from his station. Quantum field generators are synchronized across the fleet. The Ascendancy's probability engines are at full power. Chen nodded, her expression grim. Send the signal. Execute Operation Starforge. Across the Allied fleet, carefully planted quantum devices activated. Space itself began to ripple as thousands of precisely calculated fields came online, creating a vast web of altered physics. The void entities surged forward, drawn to the quantum disturbances like moths to flame. They're taking the bait. Admiral Zentera's voice came through. The Concordat fleet is in position. The plan was ambitious, perhaps insane. They would use the Void Collective's own reality warping abilities against them, creating a cascade effect that would force them to fully materialize in normal space. But the timing had to be perfect. The enemy fleet split into 3 massive groups, each one larger than any force they'd previously encountered. The entities began their characteristic reality manipulation, trying to create zones where their physics would dominate. Now, Chen commanded. The Prometheus fired its main quantum inverter, the beam striking the center of the enemy formation. Simultaneously, the Concordat's crystalline ships focused their energy through precisely aligned lattices, creating a network of quantum resonance points. The Quantum Ascendancy's vessels added their own exotic technology to the mix, their probability engines forcing multiple quantum states to collapse into a single reality. For a moment, space itself seemed to hold its breath. Then the cascade began. The void entities, caught in a web of conflicting quantum fields, found themselves forced into conventional spacetime. Their ability to exist in multiple states simultaneously was stripped away, leaving them vulnerable to normal physics. All ships, open fire, Chen ordered. The combined fleet unleashed everything they had. Human quantum weapons, concordat crystal-focused energy beams, and ascendancy probability torpedoes struck the materialized void entities. Space lit up with weapons fire of a dozen different civilizations, each adding their own unique approach to warfare. But the Void Collective hadn't survived for eons by being predictable. The entities began to merge, forming a single massive consciousness that threatened to overwhelm their quantum containment. Warning signals blared across the Prometheus as reality began to unravel around them. "The containment field is failing," Kumar reported. "They're adapting faster than we calculated." Chen's mind raced. They had one option left: the theoretical weapon they developed by combining technology from all three civilizations. But using it would require sacrificing a significant portion of their fleet. "All ships, fall back to minimum safe distance," she ordered. "Concordat crystal ships, maintain your position. Ascendancy vessels, prepare to channel all power to your probability engines." "Captain," Admiral Zentera's voice was steady despite the chaos. "The crystalline fleet understands what you're asking. We are ready." The void entity had grown to impossible proportions, its form now resembling a twisted fractal storm of unreality. Space itself was beginning to unravel around it. "Kumar, initiate quantum resonance cascade," Chen commanded. "Full power to the inverter." The Prometheus's systems screamed as they were pushed beyond their limits. The Concordat's crystal ships began to glow with building energy, their structures acting as vast quantum lenses. The ascendancy vessels poured power into their probability engines, forcing quantum uncertainty into predetermined paths. In the heart of the battle, physics itself began to break down. The void entity's attempt to rewrite reality clashed with the Allied fleet's technology, creating a zone of pure chaos where normal spacetime ceased to exist. "Now," Chen shouted. The Prometheus fired its quantum inverter one last time. The beam multiplied and focused through the crystalline fleet. The Ascendancy's probability engines collapsed all possible quantum states into a single devastating moment of certainty. The effect was beyond anything they had predicted. The void entity's own reality warping power was turned inward, creating a cascade of collapsing quantum states. The creature began to fold in on itself, dragging its entire fleet into a dimension of its own making. The crystalline ships shattered under the strain, their sacrifice creating the perfect focusing lens for the final blow. Space itself seemed to swallow the Void Collective whole, sealing them in a pocket universe of their own corrupted physics. When the quantum storm cleared, the enemy was gone. Sensors showed no trace of the void entities, only a faint echo of distorted spacetime that was already beginning to fade. The bridge of the Prometheus was silent save for the hum of damaged systems and the heavy breathing of its crew. They had won, but the cost had been enormous. "Status report," Chen managed, her voice hoarse. Kumar checked his readings. "The void fleet is gone. Completely. The quantum readings suggest they're trapped in their own pocket dimension, sealed off from our reality." He paused. "We lost 30% of the fleet, including most of the Concordat's crystal ships." Chen closed her eyes for a moment, honoring the sacrifice. When she opened them, her expression was determined. "Begin rescue operations. I want every surviving crew member found and brought to safety." As the Allied fleet began the somber work of recovery, Chen stared out at the battlefield. They had faced an enemy that threatened not just their lives, but reality itself, and they had prevailed through unity and sacrifice. "Captain," Kumar said softly, "long-range sensors show no signs of void activity anywhere in known space. I think we really did it." Chen nodded slowly. "We did, but not alone. No single species could have achieved this victory. It took all of us working together, sharing our knowledge, trusting each other." The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if reality itself was celebrating its salvation. The galaxy would rebuild, stronger than before. The alliance forged in desperation would continue in peace, each civilization contributing its unique perspectives and abilities to their shared future. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy as strangers, bearing warnings of cosmic horror. They departed the battlefield as family, having proved that the greatest power in the universe wasn't advanced technology or reality warping abilities, but the strength that came from standing together against the dark.